I just want to mention too, you made the comment about people going out and get blasted at the weekend and it goes on their Facebook page. Well, people have been doing that since how long?
Yes.
It's just that it wasn't posted
it wasn't
before.
Posted,
so,
was it? No.
you know, do organisations need to go digging for that kind of thing to find out about a person before they interview them? You know, this is part of life, isn't it? But on the other hand, just going back to a little point you made, if you don't mind, Kevin, you said about getting people to understand how their reputation's affected. Do we want a world where, from the age of 4 or 5, youngsters are thinking about their brand online? I mean, that sounds.
I agree.
A little bit draconian to me.
I think it's a very, very fine line between personal freedom and my responsibilities to my organisation, whether that be a school or whether that be an employer, and it's a very, very difficult line to walk and to negotiate. And I think socially, that's probably where we are at the moment. And what you do see is you do get rather draconian requirements by employers on private individuals who are doing things in their own time that frankly aren't really acceptable things to ask. And you don't want to end up with the situation where young people are not enjoying themselves. No. Because they're thinking online is not a place that I enjoy myself, it's a place that I manipulate and put forward an image of myself as this great person for my future employer or for whoever it is. You really don't want to get into that.
You have to be pragmatic about it as well. Like, that's the reality, perhaps. I mean, I'm just kind of throwing this out there, not necessarily something I believe, but if that's the reality, then we need to wake up to that, and we need to perhaps start to think, get our young people to start thinking about. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and it pains me to start to think that she's got to think of herself as a brand, and that does strike me with fear. But if that's where we're moving to, then we kind of need to be aware of that.
But Spencer's hit the nail on the head there, where he said that he's a parent, and I'm a parent, and I imagine most of the panel are parents. We have a responsibility to guide our children, and we have a responsibility to ensure that they're approaching this in a sensible way. So, of course, they can put things on Facebook, but if they know about the privacy settings, if they know about how to lock things down, then they can choose later what's available. And in terms of the parents, going back to that, the point that we were talking earlier about equipping people, it's great to have schools, it's great to have young people who are aware, but we also need to have parents. And there's a lot of family learning starting to take place around e-safety, which NIACE is looking at quite closely. And there's a lot of evidence coming out of case studies, if you like, to suggest that family learning is definitely a good way for young people and parents to engage each other in learning generally, but also a really valuable place for them to learn a very valuable skill.
I think it also kind of steps back to the human element of technology, which is why it's so popular, because there is such a big human element, and families that talk about what it is they do, whatever it is, whether it's things that they do online or things that they do at school, are always going to be very positive, and it's always going to be beneficial for people to actually sit down and talk about what they do and why they do it, and the ways that they do it as well.